Most people think secrets live in a vault, a server you'd have to hack, a document stamped top secret, a meeting in a room with no windows. That's the movie version. But what if the most important secrets in civilization aren't hidden behind walls? What if they're hidden in plain sight, scattered across 1,000 boring systems so nobody can assemble the whole picture? Because in the modern world, the strongest hiding method isn't censorship, it's dispersion. It's not don't let them see it, it's let them see pieces of it forever, without letting them see the shape. Here's the dark part. A secret doesn't have to be locked away to be protected. It only has to be too tedious to reconstruct. The system doesn't need to destroy evidence. It just needs to spread evidence across law, finance, procurement, academia, NGOs, contractors, shell entities, regulatory filings, grant databases, and local agencies, until the truth becomes a dust cloud. In isolation, every piece looks harmless. A line item, a committee meeting, a subcontract, a grant award, a policy memo written in dead language. No single document screams, "This is it!" And that's the point. Because censorship creates enemies. Censorship triggers resistance. The moment people can say they're hiding it, you create a target, a villain, a rally point. Dispersion is cleaner. Dispersion doesn't create outrage. It creates confusion. It makes the public feel stupid, tired, and uncertain, without ever giving them a clean object to attack. That's why it wins. And here's why it works psychologically. Humans don't mobilize around spreadsheets. They mobilize around stories. They mobilize around faces, villains, and blood-on-the-floor moments. But the modern secret doesn't live in a story. It lives in a structure. It lives in procurement codes and grant conditions, in subcontracting chains and advisory services. In board memberships nobody reads. In pilot programs that quietly become permanent. The truth is real, but it's antiviral. It doesn't spread naturally. It has to be carried. So what happens is predictable. The public gets fragments. Journalists get timelines. Courts get narrow disputes. Regulators get compliance checklists. But nobody gets the whole machine. Because the whole machine is smeared across institutions that can't even speak to each other in the same language. Law speaks one dialect, finance speaks another, academia speaks in fog, media speaks in emotion, bureaucracy speaks in forms and procedures. Even if you read all of it, you may not realize you're reading the same operation described 6 different ways. This is the part that feels like a horror movie if you really sit with it. A system can produce outcomes that look coordinated, without any single person needing to understand the full coordination. No central villain required, just a structure that routes incentives, money, permissions, and reputations through normal channels. One office approves the grant. Another office contracts the vendor. Another committee validates the research. Another nonprofit runs the program. Another media layer translates it into public moral language. And every person in the chain can honestly say, "I just did my job." That's what makes it lethal. Because accountability dies the moment blame can't land. Now zoom out. If your hypothesis is true, then the deepest power in civilization isn't held by the people who know the secret. It's held by the people who can assemble the map. Because the secret isn't a file. The secret is the join, the relationships between records, the repeated vendors, the shared intermediaries, the same law firm appearing in unrelated places, the same advisory group showing up in multiple sectors, the same phrases in policy language drifting across agencies like a virus. In a distributed world, truth is not discovered by finding one document. Truth is discovered by noticing what keeps repeating. So the real class division becomes something most people don't even have words for. Not rich versus poor, not left versus right, but assembled perception versus fragmented perception. Fragmented perception is what the average person lives on. A headline here, a scandal there, a clip, a post, an argument. Assembled perception is what operators live on. People who can hold a timeline in their head. People who can track flows across institutions. People who can see incentives and translations and deflections happening in real time. And once you see that division, you can't unsee it. Because it means modern power doesn't have to lie to the public every day. It just has to keep the public permanently stuck in fragments. And that's where transparency becomes a performance. Institutions can release oceans of documents and still be functionally opaque. They can publish it all as unsearchable PDFs, incompatible databases, missing identifiers, dead links, obsolete portals, and language that requires a professional interpreter. So when someone asks, "Why can't we understand what's going on?" the system replies, "It's all public," which is the most dangerous sentence in a distributed world because it sounds like accountability while functioning like camouflage. Public doesn't mean visible. Public doesn't mean reconstructible. Public doesn't mean comprehensible. Here's the darker upgrade. What if some systems aren't merely complex by accident? What if certain sectors learn that the best way to avoid accountability is not to hide, but to scatter? Scatter the function across enough entities that nobody can sue the whole thing. Scatter the responsibility across enough departments that nobody can be blamed. Scatter the narrative across enough language regimes that nobody can describe it cleanly. Then the system becomes not just hard to investigate, it becomes hard to explain. And if you can't explain it, you can't rally against it. Because mass awakening requires a shared story. Dispersion kills shared story formation. So here's the civilizational implication that changes behavior. A society can be surrounded by evidence and still be blind, not because truth is missing, because truth has been atomized beyond ordinary cognition. Which means the new question is not, where is the secret file? The new question is, who benefits from reality being too distributed to mentally reconstruct? Because in a world like this, power doesn't need to silence you. It only needs to exhaust you. It doesn't need to erase the truth. It only needs to ensure the truth never becomes a single coherent picture that the public can hold long enough to act on. And once you understand that, you stop looking for the vault. You start looking for the map. Because the people who can assemble the fragments are the only ones who can see the machine. And the people who can't will spend their entire lives arguing about pieces while the structure keeps moving right through them, quietly, legally, publicly, invisible. Follow. Argue, mentor for the next chapter.